So hopefully everybody can see my screen okay. Fantastic. So look, you're very, very welcome to a brief webinar on how Lightyear and Xero kind of combine themselves to really help with either your clients, or if you're a direct business, if you're an accountant, it's your clients. But if you're a direct business, then obviously how can we help you as a business as well, cut costs and obviously continue to grow your business, but also have all that automation and digitization around your kind of accounts payables processes, and potentially also purchasing too. So my name's Tom. I'm one of the directors here at Lightyear. I have been with the business since the beginning of it. I helped start the business up back in 2019. I'm going to jump onto our first slide, which is just a quick agenda for today. We're going to run through a quick snapshot of Lightyear, who we are, where we've been, and so on and so forth. We're then going to jump into the challenges that we've been hearing from prospects and customers that have come on to our platform, and what we've tried to solve for and help them with. I'm going to address those challenges, obviously, with kind of how Lightyear can help combined with Xero. And then I'm going to go into some of the key features and benefits of a Lightyear and Xero partnership as an app stack. Some customer testimonials at the end as well. I'm just going to flag up to you. And then if you would like to ask any questions throughout the webinar, fire them into the question section or the chat. I will definitely come to them at the end. And then finally, before we get into any questions, I'm going to jump into a brief demo of the product too. So I'm going to move on to the next slide. And this is just a little bit about us. So as I said, we started the business, but really kind of got things off the ground around 2018, 2019. We have been around for 5 years, but we've been in the business before. So if any of you are familiar with Xero's app marketplace, there's about, 2,000 apps that connect to Xero these days. We had a previous solution in the market back in 2009 that was app number 8 or connecting to Xero. So really in the infancy of Xero as well. So we're very, very familiar with Xero, and we're one of their premium partners. So since we started Lightyear, our second business in 2018, we've grown very, very quickly. We've got over 6,000 businesses, as you can see on screen. We work with a ton of accountancy firms as well, over 500 of them that either use them for themselves or use our product on behalf of their clients. We've got over 45,000 users now that are logging into our system more than once a week. We're processing a high volume or high value volume of documents too. So $15 billion in USD of actual invoices and expenses and so on and so forth that are being processed through our system every year, and I think that's doubled in the last year as well. In terms of our integrations, so if you're on this call today as an accountant or as a bookkeeping company, and you potentially have most of your clients on Xero, you might be just a Xero accounting platform stack. But if you do have any other customers that are on the likes of Sage, QuickBooks, maybe some of the larger systems, NetSuite, Sage Intacct, Accounts IQ, so on and so forth, we integrate with predominantly all of the major kind of cloud accounting platforms out there that kind of service small to kind of medium-sized businesses. We also do integrations into desktop software as well. So there's anything like the Sage 50s of the world and those few kind of older systems out there, we can also integrate with them. 96% annual logo retention. So for those of you that don't know what that means, that's pretty much we have very little attrition across our base. We literally have, I would say, less than 1% every year, and most of it is attrition due to that business unfortunately not being able to sustain themselves. And then last of all, yes, we've got a few employees. That number needs updated. We're actually close to the 70 mark now. So when I first started the business with the two founders, there was 4 of us. We now have nearly 70 staff members across the two offices. We've got one office here in Belfast, which is where I'm calling you from. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm not in a prison cell. I'm just in one of our small little offices. And then we've got another office in Sydney, Australia. So the other founder's based out there, lucky him. The benefit of the two offices, just to give you some context around that, is that we offer 24-hour live premium support, one of our big USPs and one of the comments that we typically get from most of our customers that leave us loads of reviews is all around our customer service, and it's kind of like we think it's the best in market. So we have 24-hour live service for you. Any time of the day you're in our app, you need to speak to somebody from the Lightyear team. We're available for you. So moving on to the next slide, what are the challenges? What are the challenges we hear? And I've spelled here incorrectly, so I'll change that for the next one. But what we've seen with a lot of our Xero clients and also bookkeepers or accountants that bring on Xero customers is the heavy reliance on all the manual keying in of data. So I know that Xero has the likes of HubDoc that is very good at doing the digital kind of receipts and receipts capturing. But when it comes to actual invoice processing, and when you get some heavy invoices with line item data on them that you need to code on different line items and so on and so forth, this is where we really come to the fore. But these are the kind of invoices that we hear about that are the most challenging. Different tax rates on different line items, different GL codes, tracking categories, etc., etc. So this is where our system can really benefit you. Lack of visibility. So we've noticed, and when we've spoken to accountants and bookkeepers, they are rushing to get their month end done. And the reason for that is that they're not getting the data that they need to be able to close the month out or do the VAT returns and so on and so forth, because they're either stuck with the client, they haven't forwarded them on yet, they've lost them, the supplier hasn't sent them through, and so on and so forth. So those are some of the challenges we've been hearing as well. Delayed on supplier payments. Again, this comes back to my point I've just made. Obviously, if you don't have the invoice in front of you, the supplier won't get paid, and therefore, if it's stuck in someone's inbox, if it's sitting on someone's desk, and so on and so forth, this is where we hear those challenges of having to not only appease the suppliers because there's delays in payments to them, but also that could also ruin the relationship with those suppliers, and therefore you lose your credit ratings and so on and so forth. Lack of audit trail. Again, a lot of our businesses that we bring on, and a lot of the businesses that we get referred to by accountants and bookkeepers, are businesses that are of a larger size typically, and therefore they need that full audit trail across any actions that have been taken on those documents and any approvals that have happened. And therefore, not having that audit trail, and then if auditors do come knocking, if they are kind of past the VAT threshold, you're obviously going to come into some issues there, and the audits are going to be a lot more painful than they should be. So those are kind of some of the challenges that we hear, but there's lots and plenty more. So this is how we address those challenges, or this is the platform that we're offering that's going to really support our customers with these challenges. So number one, a lot of businesses out there are looking to see where they're spending their money, and having controls around that. And what typically happens is if you don't have a purchase order before an invoice, the finance team are only finding out, or the accountant and the bookkeeper are only finding out after the product's been purchased, because obviously the invoices come in, the product's already been delivered, and so on and so forth, or the service. So our purchase order module can provide that kind of upfront understanding of what is being spent and the costs that are going out of the business. That also provides them with an approvals workflow on that purchase order process, because then you can obviously have certain individuals approving those POs before they leave the business as well. So that's a really kind of useful tool, and it's all digitized. You've also got the element around, if you are raising POs across a business, or some of your customers have said, oh, I'm interested in purchase orders, you've got that challenge of having to match the invoice off, and we will provide you with that kind of three-way matching automation as well. So when the invoice comes in, it automatically matches to the PO. Again, you don't have to use our purchase order module, but it's there, and it's something that people can experiment with if they would like to use our system. Our bread and butter, though, is really our AP automation. So our accounts payables automation is best in class. And I know that I sound biased because I'm from Lightyear, but having looked at all the competitors on the market, if you need accurate real-time data extraction, you probably won't find it anywhere else. We can take invoices, credit notes, 10 lines, 100 lines, 1,000 lines, 10, 15, 20, 30, 100 pages long invoices, and we can strip out every single line item off that document and code it all accurately for you. And that means GL codes and tracking categories and so on and so forth. So that saves a huge amount of time from those manual processes that people are typically following. If you would like to introduce your clients to a certain approval workflow, so coming back to the point where you get the invoice approved because it's just been sent into your inbox, but it could have been sitting with that client for days, weeks on end potentially. The way our system will help you with that is that the supplier will send those invoices straight into our system. It'll go out to that individual for approval, so they don't need to have that responsibility to send anything through to you anymore. They just can approve their documents through Lightyear on the mobile phone app that we provide, facilitating it really simply and easily for them. You then get into a couple of other kind of manual tasks that either yourselves are doing on behalf of the client or the clients are doing themselves in their own finance team, and that's the supply statement reconciliation. So again, I don't believe there's many apps out there that can provide you with that. I certainly know that Dex can't. We can provide you with that automated supply statement reconciliation. I'll touch on this in the demo, but literally statements come in, we match everything off for you, and we mark anything that's missing. And then you can click this lovely little button that will send comms out to the supplier. You get those missing documents through as well. Um, Lots of other kind of cross-platform features that we offer. Things like, if they're managing stock, we can send stock data through our system into stock management solutions. You've got that whole element of supplier management. A lot of our customers that have come to us are not happy, for example, that people are ordering from suppliers that aren't on their preferred supplier list. So we can definitely provide you with that as well. A couple of other things that we're providing for you as well is the archive and reporting off the back of the data. So we've got this lovely digital archive. A lot of our customers, believe it or not, are still storing all their invoices in filing cabinets. They have either a warehouse full of them or a couple of rooms within their building and so on and so forth. Over time, we'll replace that with our digital archive. You obviously have to keep those documents for 7+ years, but over time, our system will digitize everything for them, and therefore they'll have all those documents at their fingertips from a click of a button. We've also got this amazing reporting off the back of the system. So if you think about all that line data that we're pulling off those invoices, you want to understand how much you've spent on a particular product, or your client does. They want to understand how much they've spent with a supplier across a particular tracking category, a department, location, whatever that might be. Our system can provide that detailed information for them. And it can show them where their spend is going. It can show them the increase in pricing across the suppliers that they're using, whether that's at a product or even at a supplier level as well. Accrual reports are there as well. So, again, if you're closing the month out and you're still missing certain invoices, or there's invoices that are stuck with somebody for an approval and so on and so forth, that's a really nice feature to be able to get that understanding of how much is left over for that particular month. So that's the kind of suite that we offer at the minute. We are developing the product at an incredible pace. We have a development team in house, and we're constantly enhancing the product off the back of the feedback we get from our customers. Our product is customer led. So at the end of the day, you've got some feedback for us. If we think it's a great idea, fantastic, we throw it into the roadmap, and we typically get it built. And it's great that customers can see that then that they're being listened to and so on and so forth. So I'm going to move on to the next slide. I hope I'm doing okay for time as well. So what are the benefits between Lightyear and Xero? There's a number of them. The one thing that we have that is kind of best in class is the API that we have with Xero. So we pull back some really detailed information from Xero to then provide you with some insights. For example, we bring back the bank details from a supplier record, and we can check the bank details on every invoice that comes in to make sure that it matches to what is against that supplier record too. Something that I don't believe a lot of the other APIs can do. We also have like auto publish embedded within Lightyear. Therefore, invoices flow straight through, data extracted and straight through into Xero without any touch points. And we're significantly improving that from a data extraction perspective. So we're going to be, potentially, completely seamless without any interaction from the customer in the very near future as well. Early payment discount optimization. This is something that Xero shouts about, but with the likes of Lightyear, because you can leverage our system to be able to get your data through at pace, so your invoices and credit notes on behalf of your clients, or if you are a client yourself through your finance teams, we will be able to get those invoices through, coded, digitized, and accurately done, and therefore posted into Xero within a few seconds. Therefore, it kind of then leverages the fact that the client can then, if they're going to be paying their suppliers early, a lot of suppliers give them discounts for that. So we're really trying to help facilitate that optimization too. What we provide for accountants and bookkeepers. So apologies if you're not an accountant and bookkeeper on this webinar today, but We really enable you as an accountant and bookkeeper to manage bigger clients and also potentially bring on bigger clients, because the likes of a lot of customers that are potentially on Xero with Dex or Xero with auto entry or whatever that might be, when that customer gets to a certain size, they need a lot more functionality that those systems won't be able to provide for them. Our system provides that for them. And what we've seen in the past is that a customer potentially has moved off Xero because of the functionality or the limited functionality they have with Xero and potentially a few apps, and then gone on to a bigger product like Sage Intact, iPlicit, Accounts IQ, NetSuite, which is obviously a lot more costly. We can keep that client with you on Xero because they've got the features from Lightyear to help enhance what they need out of their products, and therefore, our combined approach, Lightyear and Xero, is a really powerful one to either bring on bigger clients or to keep bigger clients that potentially would want to move away from Xero. So those are kind of some of the benefits. There's a lot more as well. Actually, one more that I would mention is the fact that you've got um, approval workflows within our system. Now, again, with the likes of Xero, there aren't any approvals in there, or they're very limited. Our system has this very enhanced approval workflow within Lightyear that can really provide you with all your clients with that kind of audit trail and that control over kind of what they're spending to. So I'm going to jump into the next slide. A couple of testimonials from a lot of accounting, or a couple of accounting firms that we work with. Pinfold Outsourcing Limited. They've been with us for a couple of years. Claire absolutely loves us. She runs a lot of franchise groups. So if you can think about some kind of brands that I'm sure you'll be aware of, like Pret a Manger and stuff like that, she manages a lot of the bookkeeping, outsourced finance function for those businesses, and we're obviously supporting her with our product. And then Number Crunchers as well. Again, they manage a number of different clients, and they've actually embedded clients into our product as well, so they do their approvals and so on and so forth within that. We're a 5-star rated app on Xero, so if you want to go and check us out on the marketplace, you'll see us there with over 150 reviews, I think now, and they're all pretty much 5-star rated. So we're a 5-star rated app on that platform. And then if you go and check out our reviews on some of the other sites like Capterra, we're 5-star rated there too. And then you've obviously got our support function, which we really feel is one of the big USPs. I think with any platform or any accounting software or AP software that you are going to be either embedding with your client or embedding into your own practice, it's really important to have a really solid aftercare from that product. And we do really feel that ours is best in class. And if you do use this, you'll find out. So I'm going to jump out of these slides and I'm going to jump straight into a demo. There were a few people that joined late, I believe. Just to let you know, don't worry if you've missed the beginning. It was a few slides, probably death by PowerPoint. But we'll forward on this recording to everybody that's either attended or hasn't been able to attend this call today. Right, so hopefully you can all see my screen. What I'm going to be showing you now is a very brief overview of the product. I'm only going to touch on a few features today, or I'd say probably the crux of the big ones. If again you'd want to find out more about this, when we send out the correspondence after this session, you'll have the opportunity to be able to sign up to a demo with one of our team. Okay. Right. So to give you a bit of real estate to kick things off, so this is Lightyear. This is basically the AP side of our product. This is where the invoices and credit notes will land into. So at the top here, you've got the company name. My colleague Sam has kindly lent me his demo account today to do this. So that's his account. You've got this email address that's associated to that account. So if you're familiar with these types of solutions, most of these solutions provide an email address for either the client or the accountant and the bookkeeper for the invoices and credit notes and supplier statements to go into. So this is the email address that you can either, when you create it, either present to the supply chain and the suppliers can send them all directly into, or your clients can forward them into this email address. Okay. They can also upload them via the upload function. You can see that little cloud icon there. They can also scan them into this email address too. Okay. So we're really trying to digitize your practice, your clients as much as possible, and remove all that physical paper. When an invoice or a credit note or receipt lands into Lightyear, it will automatically land in this approvals tab. So what I'm actually going to do now is I'm actually going to send an invoice straight into the system. So you can see I've got an invoice here, and that's the email address associated to that account. And I'm going to fire that in. And within a few seconds, you'll see it land in this section here, and you'll see the data that we've extracted. And then you'll probably agree with me that we kind of strip out data incredibly quickly and incredibly accurately too. On the right-hand side here, you've got a copy of the document. You probably recognize that as a Xero invoice, but you can see there's a copy of the invoice there on the right-hand side. It doesn't matter about the format of the invoice, the look and feel of it. Most of these invoices today you'll see are kind of Xero created for demo purposes, but we have all weird and wonderful shapes and sizes, let's just say, of invoices that come in with even Hebrew on it, and we managed to strip the data out of that too. So an invoice is going to land in. I'm going to refresh now and hoping the demo gods are with me. There you go. Brilliant. You see that invoice that's just landed in there at the top. I'll show you the activities section because it'll tell you when it actually landed in. You'll literally see from that timestamp that it was in our system within a few seconds. Okay. What you'll also see is a copy of that document on the right hand side. There you go. I'm zooming in on out on that so you can see it. And where the magic happens is down at the bottom here is where we've shipped out all this data. So it's just taking a little while to load up. There we go. Fantastic. Sorry, my Wi-Fi isn't brilliant in this prison cell, as I mentioned earlier. So there we go. We've got an update on the app itself. It's probably a new feature landing in. So what you'll see down below is basically the data that we provide off the document. So you've got your supplier name, your invoice number, the invoice date. The due date is very clever. Again, when we connect to Xero, we bring back the payment terms with that particular supplier record. We then are able to facilitate what the due date looks like. So if you tell us those payment terms for that supplier, 30 days, 45 days, 30 days from invoice date, 30 days from month end, our system's going to be able to detect what those payment terms are and then apply a due date for you. If you prefer us to have the due date that's on the invoice stripped out, we can do that too. But typically, most of our clients go down the route of, can you apply the due date in line with what the payment terms are? The purchase order number is on there, it'll get shipped out as well. Then you get your subtotal, tax, and total in this field here. So our system doesn't just copy and paste the totals of the document. We actually strip out all the line item information and recalculate them. What does that mean? That means we pick up any mistakes that the supplier has made, and we do see them from time to time where the supplier has incorrectly added up their quantities and unit prices. They might have incorrectly applied the VAT code on that particular line item, and therefore our system will flag to you any issues or discrepancies in this little box here. Down the bottom is where we do that magic I mentioned earlier. This is where we strip out all that data. You can see there's probably about 30 lines there of information that we've literally stripped out in a few seconds. You've got your product codes, your descriptions, your quantities, your unit prices. I'm going to touch on that in a second, on those colors. You've got the line amounts, you've got your tax codes. Again, if there's products that are 20%, products at 0%, our system identifies that and applies the correct tax code for it. This is where you get into your coding structures. So this is like a dummy demo account. You'll see here it says account code here. This is your GL code, and it will say GL code if it's connected to Xero. Then you get into your different categories. So this could be departments and locations. It could be cost centers. Whatever you decide they are in Xero will appear here with the correct headings. So we strip out all that line item information and we code every single line item. Now, we do coding in 3 different ways. We automate your coding at a supplier level, if you want us to do that, and everything on that supplier invoice comes in on the same codes. We can automate at a keyword on the document, another unique feature for us. So, for example, if you had a business that has multiple locations and you're using your tracking categories as their locations to obviously split out the reporting by each location, our system, what it'll do is it'll pick up something on the invoice that's maybe the postcode for that location, the name of the location, whatever that might be. It'll look at a keyword on that document and it will apply a coding rule against it. Therefore, it could apply the coding rule to say, well, location A goes to location A within Xero and so on and so forth. And our system will detect that and apply that coding correctly. The other element, obviously, is the line item detail. So if, for example, you look at this Stellar line here, for example, and you want to change that to a different GL code, you can literally just click on there and change it to something else. If you change it to something else, the system then remembers what you've taught it. So anytime that line item then comes in again from that supplier, our system's going to detect that line item and is going to detect the code that you've applied to it, and it will then reapply it the next time it comes in. So that's where you get into that automation on the line item coding. A couple of other features within here that are quite high level, but things like duplicate invoices will get picked up. Pretty standard, I would hope, across all systems, but we'll pick up any duplicates for you. We'll tell you where they are. One might already be in Xero, one might be still in Lightyear. We'll be able to flag that to you. You can then decide which one you want to delete. And again, if you delete something, you can bring it back very easily. We do bank detail checking. So I'm just going to pick a different invoice here that potentially has the bank details on it. I believe it could be this one. Oh, apologies again. Things are a little bit slower. Okay. So I haven't got an example with one that's got them matching, but if I show you this one, what you'll see here is this credit card icon. Now, it's telling you there's a variance between the invoice and the bank details there. So we're flagging that to you. So that's where they've changed their bank details potentially. If they were matching, it would be a color of green. So this is, again, really important. We're matching the bank details off the invoice every time it comes in with that supplier records bank details and making sure that they're accurate. A couple of benefits to this. Number one, it picks up any fraudulent suppliers that are trying to send things through that don't have bank details set up in your system, obviously, or trying to copycat a supplier that your client or you are using. Second element is obviously when you do payment runs, if you're doing them on behalf of your client as well, you will be able to ensure that anything on that payment run has been checked by Lightyear from a bank details perspective. So you're confident to pay those things into the correct bank accounts. It's another time saver, I believe. A few other little things I mentioned earlier around the line item data extraction. So if I pick this one in particular, what you'll see here is that in this column that I showed you earlier, you can see these different colors against the prices. So one of our unique features is that when an invoice comes in, if your client or you have agreed pricing with a supplier, we have the facility to be able to flag any overcharging. Saves a huge amount of money for our customers. So for example, here, Fuller's London Pride should have come in at 140 per keg. It's coming at 144.35. So we're flagging any overcharging or increase in prices. Okay, so we have that facility to be able to indicate and flag things to our customers around increases in pricing across their supply chain. We've got customers that have come back to us with actual figures for 12 months who have said that actual feature on its own saved us about 15 grand because they just weren't picking up these small overcharges that were happening across the business, and therefore they were paying them without realizing. That's pretty much it. So when the invoices all flow through, they land in this section here. I mentioned we had a purchase order module. Again, if you want to find out more about that, because I don't have a huge amount of time on the webinar today to take you through it, but more than happy to do a demonstration of that. There's plenty of videos online as well that you can review and see how the actual purchase module looks like. POs get raised in our system, push them down an approval workflow if necessary, or place them ordered straight away. Invoice comes in and we do the matching. And what you'll see on this particular invoice here is we've got this matching column status. And this is basically telling us that every single line item of that invoice matches to what's on that PO or multiple POs. So we're automating that matching element for you there as well. So approvals, this is a feature that we have. If you, as a bookkeeper or an accountant, don't need your client to do any approvals, that's absolutely fine. You don't have to switch it on, you don't have to use it. But if you do, that it's a really useful tool. So an invoice will land in, it will land into this approvals tab. And as it hits the system, if we've set up an automated approval workflow, the initials of the individual will automatically appear against that. So if you're doing this on behalf of a customer or a client and they're sending all their invoices in, or we're getting them straight in from the supply chain into our system, what will happen is that will trigger an approval request out to that approver. And it could be the business owner, it could be whoever you'd like it to be within that business. So they'll have the invoice sitting with them immediately to be able to approve. And they can do that on the mobile phone app. So they'll actually get a message on their mobile phone to say, hey, you've got an approval waiting for you. They click on that message like a WhatsApp message on your locked screen. It will bring them to the invoice and it will give them some actionable processes to follow. So they can approve it, decline it, put it on hold, add notes to it, and so on and so forth. Really, really useful to get approvals done very quickly as well. If I'm an approver and I'm logging into Lightyear, I have very limited access to the system too. So I just see like an inbox as opposed to doing it on the mobile phone. I literally have an inbox called My Tasks, and I'll just have a list of documents that I need to approve. And I've only got one purchase order here at the minute. So I just, literally just click through and approve them, and that's them doing their approvals for them. So a couple of other things, coming back to the approvals tab. Is disputes. So you might have a query with your client. You might have a query with the supplier if you're managing that relationship. There's a couple of options that you can do here. You can hit more and you can email the supplier from here. It will default the email address for that supplier, and you can send them a note straight away. Now, what we've seen with some bookkeepers and accountants is instead of putting the supplier email address against the supplier record to reach out to them, they want to go back to the client. They can obviously put the client's email address in there instead and have that as defaulted as well. Okay. So I'm sending a note out to that supplier. I hit send. That document then moves out of this section here and it moves into a disputed section. Oh, it's reloading now from the update it's just done. So apologies for that. There we go. Brilliant. There's probably going to be a new button somewhere that I haven't read about. So you can see here in this disputed section, these are all the invoices that have queries or questions on them. So it's just another tab for you to be able to push documents into that you need to get clarification from either the client or the supplier before you can then process them through to Xero. So in this section here, you can see there's the invoice that I've just pushed through. I think was it that one? Oh no, it was. I believe it was this one. Apologies. You can see there's an email that's gone out to the supplier. The supplier gets a copy of the document and so on and so forth. And then when you have got the communications back from the supplier, you can then push that invoice through. It might be a credit note that they need to send through. It might be a new invoice, whatever that might be. You can then delete it or whatever you need to take action on it. It just keeps the workflow nice and clean. It keeps everything in here that needs to be challenged or spoken to with the client about. Now, if you want to speak to the client about something, instead of you having to go outside of Lightyear, pick up the phone to them, send them an email from your email inbox or whatever that might be, you can literally just tag them on notes in our system. So I can just say, and I'm going to tag, who am I going to tag here? I'm going to tag myself. There I am. Fantastic. And can you confirm this is okay? Whatever that message might be. Okay. When you actually submit a note on the document, that individual immediately gets that message sent to them. And that message will come into the mobile phone app that we provide as well. So they'll see a message from you. They go, oh, I need to comment on that or respond to you. Click on their phone, click on the actual message that comes up. It pops up the invoice that it's related to, and that individual can then reply back to you and get that message back to you. Just speeds things up quite significantly in terms of comms between yourselves and your customers, or if you're a direct business, it's between yourself and your managers and whatever that might be. So really useful little piece of kit there. The next thing I'm going to move on to is the supplier statement reconciliation. So still my favorite feature, I'll be honest with you. It's one of those ones that whenever I show people this, they're like, oh, this is a massive time saver for me. So when a statement comes into Lightyear, I'm going to show you this statement now. It lands in the statements tab. You can see there's a copy of it here on the right hand side. And then what we do down the bottom here is we mark anything that's matched, missing across that statement, or potentially partially matched. You can see here, this one's got a ton of stuff missing off it. Okay. So we flagged only one match. That means that the invoices and credit notes that should be on this statement haven't come through Lightyear yet. Now, if everything was matched, it'd be nice and clean. It'd have everything is matched, and you'd have a little green tick there to say everything's been matched. If there is anything missing, it's really straightforward. You click on this email and it emails the supplier. Okay, I'm going to just put in a note against this, but it's pretty self-explanatory. The supplier then receives this email. So I'm going to jump into the inbox that belongs to that supplier. And what you'll see here, it says urgent missing invoice copy request. And in the body of the email, instead of you having to type out those invoices that were missing off that statement to request them, it actually just strips them all out and places them into the body of the email. So a big, big, big time saver for supplier statement reconciliation. And we deal with statements. I think there was one I was just speaking to one of my colleagues yesterday about, where they have, I think it was 2,000 line statement. So 2,000 invoices every month coming in from one supplier, and it all comes onto one statement. And we've literally matched those 2,000 lines within a few seconds and picked up anything that's missing as well. So that's the statement reconciliation feature. Archive and reporting. So we store your invoices, credit notes. We send a PDF copy into Xero, of course, when we send the data through. But in this section here is basically where if you want to find something, you can find it using any of these fields or a combination of any of them. So you might want to find an invoice by an invoice number. Straightforward, type the invoice number in and bang, it'll come up. You might want to find invoices for a particular supplier. So your client might be saying, hey, I'd just like to understand how much I've spent with a supplier over the last month or whatever that might be. Pop the supplier name in, set the dates, hit search. It brings up those results for you as well with a total balance at the bottom. You might want to get some detailed information around what they're spending their money on. And let's say, well, what is the biggest product they've spent their money on, or whatever that might be, or the most, what have they spent the most on across the period. You can actually do product reports. So you could provide them with a report on a particular product that they've purchased and say, well, this is the amount you've spent on that particular product. Xero is probably not going to provide you with that information, that detailed information, but we can from our system. You could also, for example, send your client some information around the increase of prices across certain product ranges, and again, we provide you with that detailed information, and you can obviously send that on to the client to give them some insights, and that will help them make further business decisions around what they're buying. Lots of other elements of the archive that you can use as well, and any reports that you create get stored in this little reports tab at the top there. A couple of other things before I finish off and ask for any questions. First one being is a dashboard. When you log into Lightyear, if you log into an individual client's account, you will see invoices being processed through the system, things that might be overdue, things that might have 1 to 6 days that need paying, things that might be 7+ days. It gives you that quick high-level overview of anything that's urgently pressing that needs to be pushed through and paid. You'll be able to then see that. Great, I'll jump into the tab that it's related to. I will filter out the invoices by due date, and I'll have those particular invoices in front of me. I can then see what's happening with them and why they haven't gone through yet. We have proxies that you can set up. So if anybody's sick or unwell, or on holiday, you can set up a proxy for that individual. That person then takes over their roles and responsibilities within the system, and that's typically when it comes to approvers that have kind of gone off sick or taken a holiday. You want to keep those invoices being approved, so they'll set a proxy, or they'll just tell you which proxy to set, and then that person can continue with the approvals for that individual. You have a hit list of people that need approvals. There's Sam at the top, but you'd have potentially 10, 15, 20 people that are all sitting there that need to get action certain approvals still. And you'll see the total number of approvals they have. And you can obviously fire them a message from here or a reminder from here for them to get them done. So that's, and I appreciate it was a very quick high level overview. There's lots of other things that we do within the system that I haven't had time to touch on today. And therefore, I'd recommend that if there's stuff here that's of interest, if there's things that you think would be beneficial to your customers, please reach out to us. We're a very soft business in the sense of, from a sales perspective, you tell us what your problems are, you tell us what your client problems are. We'll tell you if Lightyear can help. If we can't help, I can guarantee you we will walk away, because we don't want businesses that we can't support or add value to. Okay, so it's definitely worth having a conversation with us. We're not going to pressure you into absolutely anything. It's your choice at the end of the day, and we'll put our best foot forward each time. So I'm going to stop sharing now, and hopefully there are going to be some questions. Let me just check the questions section. Fire away if you have any. Yes, we've got a couple of questions here. Fantastic. Our pricing, obviously, great question. So our pricing model is really simple. We base it on a typical SaaS software solution where it's a monthly subscription. We're not going to force you to commit to any long-term contract with us. We believe our product speaks for itself. We don't need to. So it's a 30-day rolling contract. You sign up to the account. If you're an accountant or bookkeeper on this call, you sign up to a parent account with us. And if you want to bring on clients, then they will kind of eat off your subscription. And therefore, you sign up to the subscription that you think your client, your group of clients is going to need. We base it on the volume of documents. So you will be paying us depending on the volumes that you're processing through the system. And that can be, 5 clients, 1 client, 1,000 clients, whoever that might be. And that's how our subscription model works. So you will choose a plan. Each plan has a number of credits that you can use up, and those credits equal a document, 1 credit, 1 document. If you're familiar with the likes of Auto Entry, they have a similar model, but they price like bank statements, supplier statements, 2, 3 credits. We just have 1 credit per document, no matter what kind of document it is or how many pages it is. That's your monthly subscription. You pay that amount, you get credits. Each document then gets charged when it comes through our system. The key differentiator between us and those other systems out there as well is that we don't charge you when we ingest the invoice. We charge you when you export it to your accounting software like Xero. So you could send in 1,000 invoices into Lightyear, 500 of them are duplicates. You're going to then delete them, even though we've processed them to the point of export. you're not going to get charged those documents. Okay, so it's a real key differentiator, and that's why when people look at our pricing and say, "Oh, well, you guys are more expensive or slightly more expensive than those guys," I say, "Yes, but we're not charging you for all that unwanted stuff that comes through into that inbox." Our pricing starts from £89 plus VAT. Okay, so it's £89 plus VAT for a monthly subscription. That will get you 125 credits or 125 documents that you can then process through the system. As you go up our tiers, it gets a lot cheaper. Okay, for accountants and bookkeepers as well, you can sign up to our system, and we have a bidding agreement with you, and then your clients come on and pick from that bidding agreement. Or alternatively, which is a lot of accountants and bookkeepers who work with us do, is that they will just literally refer the client to us and we will manage that relationship for them. So they might not be involved so heavily into the bookkeeping side of things. The client does that. Therefore, we would be introduced to them and we would implement Lightyear with them. And we have a full implementation team that will take care of all that for you as well. So that's a real hands-off approach from a partnerships perspective. And I know whenever I speak to accountants and bookkeepers, you guys are incredibly busy pretty much all year round these days. There's no kind of respite. So we take all the heavy lifting off you. You don't have to worry about learning a solution end to end and then having to deliver it to your clients. We will do that delivery for you. We'll also train you yourselves if you need to use any parts of it too. Um, that's our pricing model. Gets cheaper and cheaper. It goes from 75p a doc all the way down to into the 20s of p's when you go into the larger volumes too. So that's our pricing. Thanks for that question. I really appreciate that. Let me have a look. What other questions do we have? Another question has come up. So you're asking about CIS, which is a really important question. I know there's a lot of accountants and bookkeepers that have a lot of construction clients out there. So we handle CIS incredibly well. Depending how you set it up in Xero will depend how we present it. So some of our clients have got CIS attached to their supplier, and therefore the system, when we send the document in, it applies the correct tax component for that. Other people use a GL code. It really depends on how you use it, but whichever way you do in Xero, we can match for it. So we will kind of accommodate that as well. If you're looking after charities, we gross up the tax elements as well before they send them in, so we can accommodate any kind of NFPs, non-for-profits, and so on and so forth. So again, we're very, very flexible in our system, and therefore, don't be afraid to come to a client and come to us with a complex client that has complex requirements or needs or specific needs by industry. Come and have a chat to us. We'll be able to absolutely, we should be able to look after them for you. What other questions do we have here? One last question I've got here. Thank you for asking that. The question that's come up here is what kind of partnership programs do we offer? So we can offer a referral program with you. Now, some accountants that we speak to won't take a commission, but if you're that type of accountant that does, then that's fantastic. We will give you a commission for every referral that you bring to us. And that will be depending on the size of the customer. And if you need more details around that, I can introduce you to our partnerships team and they'll be able to walk you through that. Or on the actual business partner program is where you hold the billing with us, and therefore you get to benefit from the reduction in costs because of the volume of bills that you're processing through. Oh, thanks, Mandy, for this question. Yes, where does it store the supply statements? It stores them all within Lightyear. So you'll have a digital archive as part of the archive function within our system, where you'll be able to search and find statements as and when you need them. Is that where you'd want them, or where do you typically hold on to them? You might want to reply to that question if you want, Mandy, or we can take that one offline and I can come back to you on email. But we store them all within the statement section of our application. Hopefully that answered your question. So that's all the questions. Everyone's a bit shy today. We've got 1 minute left. Thanks again to everybody that's joined the call today. Really appreciate taking time out of your day because I know everyone's really busy, especially coming up to Christmas. If there's any further information that you'd like to find out about Lightyear and how we partner well with Xero, as I said, we'll be sending out an email comms after this session with contact details, the recording, and then also links to further information that you need to maybe potentially have a look at us and make some decisions. Okay, well, fantastic. Thank you so much again for your time. Have an amazing week. I don't know. As you know, I've got a last question that popped in there. Sorry, Mandy. Apologies. As you know, with Dex, no separate place to find supply. Yes, that's very true. Yes, Dex don't handle supplier statements typically, and that's one of the kind of differences between us and that solution. Again, by all means, come and give us a shout, and we'll be able to jump on. Again, if you come onto our website, there's a live chat function. If you just want to, ask a few questions, come onto that live chat. They'll put you in touch with the right person, and we can kind of follow up from there. So on that note, if I don't see you all again, have a wonderful Christmas and a great new year. Take care.